The weather is beautiful here at the moment, cool at night and warm during the day, sun showers and rainbows. We have a few projects on the go at the moment for our off-grid property. The first one is setting up our wind turbine. We're hoping to also add some more native bees, probably up there in the hill a little bit, and also to plant some more native trees. We also unearthed some more artefacts. Our water tank is overflowing now, which is great, and our frogs are thriving as well. It will not be long, love, till our wedding day. Our African basil is growing fantastically. It has small edible lilac flowers and a sweet taste. We use it in our pasta, soup, or as a salad garnish. We float the flowers sometimes in a glass of iced tea and sprinkle buds over roast potatoes. It has deep green leaves and a purple tinge underneath the leaf. It has a strong basil flavour and can be used as a substitute for sweet basil in cooking. It flowers all year round and it's another great plant for our bees. Unfortunately, the termites got into the wood we were going to use to build our outhouse. We might have to get a steel frame to be bushfire safe anyway. Stinging nettles hurt like anything, but they usually grow where the soil is super fertile, which is a good sign for our property. They can be eaten when they're young. Cooking or drying neutralises the toxic components, and nettles can be used in tea or soup. Nettles are high in nutrients such as iron, magnesium and nitrogen. If you get them out before they set seed, then they can be added to compost, or if they do go to seed, you can still use them. Just drown them for a few days to make a nutrient-rich liquid fertiliser. It's always important with these kinds of liquids to dilute them with water before use. Our native bees are loving it here. You can see some guard bees at the entrance here. Our pink peppercorn trees are evergreen trees with sweeping willow-like branches draped in reddish-pink berries. These berries in autumn and winter ripen and can be foraged and dried as pink peppercorns, the same ones that you buy in the store. Some exciting news is that the board of Make It Tenterfield agreed to stock my handmade artisan soaps, my third stockist to come on board. The ladies on the board were so friendly to Paul and I when we first met them that we instantly felt part of this small community. We bought some fantastic strawberry jam handmade by Tracy. We're still enjoying the jam now. One of our Tenterfield neighbours, Diane, who we are still yet to meet, makes these lovely dolls. Make It Tenterfield supports lots of local artisans and small businesses. They have clothing, cards, scarves, toys, jewellery and now soaps. A wide variety of handmade goodies. And they're based in the main street of Tenterfield. These are the range of jams handmade by Tracy. Great yarns are made by Ruth, the treasurer. And we also met Elizabeth, who does some great paintings. So if you're ever in the Tenterfield area, make sure you stop in to Make It Tenterfield and buy some of our Willow's Wonders soap and some other handmade goodies. Is actually still an active sheep run, and a local farmer, Richard, owns about 300 head of sheep that graze here. These ones are grown for their wool. We often wake up to the lambs at our gate in the morning. So we've been using solar power, but it hasn't generated enough power, so we've had to rely on the generator as a backup. But the generator is really noisy and destroys the whole ambience of the place. So we decided to give the wind turbine a try, since we're constantly getting strong winds through the place. Solder some electrical wires and plugs together to put through the pole that holds the turbine up in the air. Our neighbour Daryl White is a boilermaker and helped us design this. Let's hope it works. Here is really old and thin, so we're hoping this is going to hold. We used some old wire on the property to anchor it down to some old remnants of the last farm shed floor. The wind is really starting to pick up. I'm really hoping this is going to work. Get ready for the final unveiling. Here we go. It's working. Now to dig a trench to connect it up to the battery inside the shed. The sheep are wondering what's going on. spinning turbine is putting out about half the power as our solar panels. It's not a lot, but it all helps, especially when it's cloudy or during the night time. I think we'll need to get a more powerful one. If you know of any tips and tricks, let us know in the comments below. Now to put the native bees amongst the trees. Paul designs and builds our native beehives and splits them each year to sell. They're very popular. On our way up to put the bees out, we notice that the creek is pretty much completely dried up, but we have this old well on the property. We're hoping that Richard will bring the motor over to us next time he checks over the sheep so that we can get it pumping again. That will be another one of our projects. If you know anything about old wells, let us know in the comments below. Paul put the native bees out all around the property on star pickets. The bees need to be close to flowering plants and a water source. We have 3 dams on the property as well as the creek, so they shouldn't stay thirsty. The honey that the native bee produces is small in volume but very medicinal, internally and externally, and I use the honey in my oats and goat soap that I make and sell. There are many different types of Australian native bees, and the best thing about them is they don't have any stings. We met another one of our neighbours, Jason, who owns the hills over the back of our property. You can see our shed down the hill in the distance from here. We have blackberries growing on the property. Apparently they're a toxic weed and need to be removed before they infest everywhere, but Paul has some nice childhood memories of collecting and eating blackberries, so he enjoyed 1 or 2. Perhaps the wild goats out here are enjoying them as well. We think this is a Chilean jasmine, which produces large white fragrant flowers through summer and autumn that smell of vanilla. It's a vigorous climbing plant with broad dark green leaves and large white strongly scented flowers, evergreen depending on the climate. We spent some time cleaning up the yard and now it looks rather bare. I keep imagining what it will look like after we've turned it into a food forest. The skulls that we found, and everyone hung them up on the fence around the shed, makes it look like Satan worshippers live here. It gets below 0 here in winter, so we really need to start planning for this. I guess the next big project we have is to get cement on the floor of the shed so that we can start to build it in and get a wood heater in there and start preparing for winter. So we've got a big job ahead of us and only about 4 months left to go. had some nice rain overnight, so the ground's going to be nice and soft for us to plant our native trees that we're going to. And we're getting some lovely rainbows as well. Let's hope there's some gold at the end of them. We bought some native trees from the local indigenous nursery, Gunama Nursery. This is an all-native nursery specialising in plants of the Tenterfield Plateau, native bush food, medicinal natives, and plants of cultural significance to the local Aboriginal community. They have an accredited team of native seed collectors to ensure the local genetics. They mostly supply plants grown from wild harvested local seed. We got a rusty fig, red-tipped wattle, Wollongara wattle, Burbidgee wattle, and planted them not too far from the shed. Hopefully the sheep don't eat them. And while we were planting the trees, Richard came back around with the pump for the well, which was good. Looking for a place to plant these natives was a bit hard since Richard and his sheep come and use this yard around the shed quite a lot, so we had to find a place outside of this area that was a little bit more protected from the sheep. The rusty fig we ended up planting in amongst a rocky outcrop because apparently that's what they really like to thrive. Sounds crazy, but the ash from wood is actually what makes the lye water back in the old days to make soap. Not sure if these are native Australian olives or not. If anyone knows, let us know in the comments below. What might have been an old milking station. Richard seems to think that the property used to be a working dairy farm back in the day, and this is where they would have had 2 cows come in at a time for milking, and it had a drain that ran down the side. One day I hope we have milking goats so that we can use the goat milk for my soaps. We might be able to even rejuvenate this area. You'll notice that Paul is the one that's doing all the hard labour all the time, and I guess, you know, I have had some health issues recently which prevent me from doing a lot of physical work. I've got pernicious anemia, and I've got it quite severely where it's affecting my daily functioning, and it has been affecting me for quite some years now. I'm booked in to have an iron transfusion soon, so I'm hoping that that's really going to have a big impact on my energy and my ability to be able to do more things. Fingers crossed. We also unearthed this heavy cast iron gate looking thing, which is very intricate. We're not really sure what it's for. If you have any ideas, let us know. It seems to have a lily hanging from a pot with other flowers hanging down and wreaths of berries or grapes down the bottom. It's also really, really heavy and hard to move around. We think there must be a second gate because we found another piece that's very similar to this one, but it doesn't match this one where it's missing a piece. So we think there might be another one as well. We found a name on the back of it, Gibson. And we found out that this guy possibly owned a British iron factory in 1872. The article we found here said that the Gibson Iron Factory was about mostly making decorative balconies, which could be what our little gate is for. And at the end of a long, hard day out here, the sunsets are as stunning and beautiful as ever. And we continue our journey toward a self-sustainable future.